Genesis chapter 18, 1 through 15 says, this is the New King James Version. It says, Then the Lord appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, as he was sitting in a tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing by him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground, and said, My Lord, if I have now found favor in your sight, do not pass on by your servant. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will bring a morsel of bread, that you may refresh your hearts. After that you may pass by, inasmuch as you have come to your servant. They said, Do as you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah and said, Quickly, make ready 3 measures of fine meal, knead and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hastened to prepare it. So he took butter and milk and the calf which he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? So he said, Here in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life. And behold, Sarah your wife shall have a son. Sarah was listening in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh? Saying, Shall I surely bear a child, since I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. But Sarah denied, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. So after reading the passage that was just read, there is 2 things in which we can learn from this passage. The first thing is that there is an appointed time which God has for certain things to manifest in our lives. Because if we look at verse 10, it says, And he said, I will certainly return to you according to the time of life. And behold, Sarah, your wife, shall have a son. Sarah was listening in the tent door, which was behind him. So just from that verse alone, we understand and we see that there is an appointed time which God has for certain things to manifest in our lives. For an example, you may have received a promise from God himself, and just it may seem as if it's taking too long, but God, he has a specific time, an appointed time for that such promise in which he promised you to come to pass. The second thing is that when God speaks to us a word or a promise, do not look at your current state, condition, circumstances. Just do not look at yourself. Only focus on God and that in which he has said to you, and believe it. Because if we look at verse 11 and 12, it says, Now Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah had passed the age of childbearing. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? So just by these specific 2 verses, we see that Sarah, she had looked at herself instead of believing that in which God said. But in verse 13 and 14, we see that in which God said. In verses 13 and 14, it says, And the Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I surely bear a child, since I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. So so from so basically, when God speaks to us a word or promise, um do not look at base do not look at your current state condition or just yourself and where you stand at, because that which God says surely will come to pass. Looking at your current condition or state, or just where you at, that is what the enemy wants you to focus on, rather than looking up to God and just believing in that in which He said. Um, but believe, um, but believe that in which God had spoken to you, whatever promise God speaks to you, believe it, no matter what you see, like present with you, like your current state. Believe God no matter what you see. Nothing's too hard for God. I call God the God of the impossible, because that in which men deems impossible, God is able to do it. Like, for example, someone could have went to the hospital. The the doctor could have removed a person's womb, and obviously by man will say that you know, a woman, or tell that person that she can't carry a child. But God, He is able to put a womb in that person, and also able to put a child in that person's womb. So that which man thinks is impossible or say couldn't do, God is more, exceedingly more able to do it. So as well as Matthew chapter 19 verse 26, it says, "But Jesus looked at them and said to them, with men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." So no matter what word or promise that God has spoken to you, do not look at yourself and the place in which you stand. Just believe that in which God said. Like, obviously, sometimes the place in which you stand may seem or look opposite of that in which God said, but God is the God of the impossible, and that which He said will surely come to pass. And we see that in Genesis chapter 21, verses 1 to 3, that God kept His word in which He has spoken to Abraham. It says, "And the Lord visited Sarah as He had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as He had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac." So that in which God has said, He will surely do. So don't look at the place in which you're staying currently. Only focus on God and look. Only focus on God and look at that in which God has said, because that in which God has said, He will surely do.